time.
Light the beam. I'm not going to say it like
Light the damn beam.
It in a really dark
Light
way.
the damn beam. Oh, that's a beam.
It's starting to look better.
That's a beam as promised.
I do like it.
I
Better than the
tried
flashlight.
to warn you guys.
I'll stop it.
I tried to warn a lot of the national media that I guess just can't find it in them to stay up late for those sleepy West Coast games. That we had a team that could take a champ's punch and found out yesterday a champ's stomp and respond with a victory. A team that, while it has weaknesses, are not weaknesses that this Golden State team can exploit. Oh, but Nick, they're a terrible defense. On the inside, they are. No real great shot blockers. Luckily, as Charles Barkley once said, he was right, just 8 years too early on it. Jump shooting team going to have a hard time. Oh. They can't take advantage of what is the Kings' one weakness. Go get to the paint, get a bucket. Nah, they're going to float around to the three-point line and take shots. Also, tight games. Steph Curry in game one hits an impossible three. Yesterday, post-Draymond suspension, Klay hit a couple huge ones. How many times have we seen those moments turn into Warrior victories? What those other teams didn't have was the most clutch performer in the NBA this year, one De'Aaron Fox, who's been doing that all year long. The Warriors, as you can tell from Draymond losing his cool, from Steve Kerr's post-game comments, Brew, are shook. The only people more shook than the Warriors are probably sitting right across the table from me. Because I know you are not a games guy, but you did pick the Warriors in 5, and that now I can say is not going to happen. And it's much more likely to be Kings in 5. So this beam, you know what? I'm making an executive decision. What? I think we need a little more smoke in here. Let's smoke it up a little bit so the beam really can pop.
I'm about to choke.
Go ahead.
Enough of this. You had me until you said the Warriors are shook.
Huh?
I mean, seriously, and I'm serious. I liked what you were saying. It was accurate. They have faced LeBron James in the finals. Yeah. How many? I don't even know how many times.
White work out all the time, though.
It worked out plenty, though.
Okay.
And now they're shook.
Were they ever down
by De'Aaron Fox?
All this championship pedigree.
They have faced Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and been down 3-1.
Not 2-0.
And they're shook by De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. Look, I'm going to give the Kings props. I think people, including myself, underestimated them. And I watched them this year.
Oh, I know you
did. But
did.
what I saw was offense. I didn't see defense. And look, around the NBA, everybody wanted this matchup. Well, so everybody was overlooking the Kings. But, Nick, what has really impressed me, the offense, again, I knew that was there. The defense, they have played last night, I thought their defense was excellent. Picking up Steph and company full court, hounding them up the court, and what's happening is that's making Golden State get into their offense late.
Who do you give credit for that to?
Well, Mike Brown's a great coach.
And where was he?
It was baffling that they were so bad defensively because in Cleveland, in L.A., he was known as a defensive coach. In fact, the question was, can he coach offense?
Yep.
And obviously being in Golden State helped him. So I'm not surprised that he's turned it around for this series. And, of course, they know what Golden State's doing.
That's the key. He knows what Golden State's counters is going to be.
And but they're pressuring, the kid from Baylor, Mitchell.
Davion Mitchell.
Yeah, and even De'Aaron's picking up full court some. And it's causing the Warriors to get into their offense late. And you saw late in that game, they couldn't really, the spacing was off. Steph's kind of looking for a pick. Come help me with a pick. And he's not getting as much space as he usually does. So that's what's impressed me the most.
Can I show you the graphics on that? This is what they were during the regular season. Not great, as you mentioned, Brew. Playoffs has really stepped up. And before we just give all the credit to the Kings defense, I'm going to have to side with Nick here. Because, Brew, you do not like silly teams. I mean, this is great defense. It's also just careless basketball. Like this one from your guy.
Yeah, he's trying to get a foul.
And then how about this one from Jordan Poole here later on? I mean, we're giving out souvenirs, Brew. This is supposed to be a team
silly?
Well, those are
here's the thing.
Careless is all get out.
Okay, I saw several silly plays and a guy stomping on an opponent. So,
I
don't know.
I do know. Guys,
it's 2 home games. Let's all
hold on.
Take a breath
Wait a
if we
moment.
could without
Wait a
smoking.
moment here. This Warriors team, all year long, what did Steve Kerr say? We foul too much. They foul too much. Can't win on the road. Can't win on the road. Looking for someone who wasn't part of their championship core to step up because aside from Steph, the championship core is diminished. And it hasn't happened. In fact, and we'll talk about it more later, those guys they expected to step up, Kerr looked up and down the bench yesterday and said, can't play you. Don't trust you. The writing has been on the wall, and now it is in the night sky every night after these games, that this is not, forget your granddaddy's Warriors, your yesterday's Warriors. It's not.
But yet you expect them to win the next 2 games.
Well, no. Going into the series, I thought it would just be home teams winning the whole thing. And I picked Kings in 7. I now would be very impressed if the Warriors can get it to 7. Right. I'm not certain that's happening.
Let's get to the big.
That would be the explanation. That would be it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thankfully, Sabonis' ribs weren't cracked. I mean, that would have been terrible.
That could have happened.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely could have happened. Let's start. Draymond was in the wrong, obviously. But let's start with Sabonis, because he wasn't in the right. First of all, he flopped. If you watch the tape, I mean, he's kind of engaged with Klay, and, Klay kind of turns and he falls down, which is gamesmanship. It happens in the NBA. And then he does, as we all know now, he grabs Draymond. So the one thing I think the refs got wrong.
Stepped on.
No, but look, he was wrong. You can't do that. This is not football. All right, he's not a running back. He should have got a flagrant 1. He got a technical. He should get a flagrant 1. They got Draymond right. He should have been ejected, which he was. But I think beyond the technical, a flagrant 1 is unnecessary contact with an opponent. He's grabbing his leg.
Deal.
So that's all I'm saying. He should have got a flagrant 1.
Now that's
Draymond should have got.
Let's talk about Draymond.
No, I mean, I'm just saying.
I got it. But we all agree that what Sabonis did was not a natural basketball play.
It was a dirty play. Grabbing a basketball player by the ankle
is it dirty?
Is dirty.
Okay.
Draymond was much dirtier.
Okay,
but let's
that's
not
fine.
defend
Again,
Sabonis.
I'm not gonna. This is an old debate trick you learned in high school in the '70s, which was like trying to argue on
I'm
your
not trying
terms.
to defend Draymond.
I will concede all of the Sabonis points because I want to talk about Draymond Green. He can't control himself. It was wildly dangerous. It was violent. As far as sports goes, sports violence.
It was terrible.
You said it could have cracked his ribs. I agree with you. And it was in the 4th quarter of a critical game that his team needed. And yet he can't control himself. And his explanation, which was essentially, if you're holding on to me, what do you expect me to do? We all saw in game 1 when the Warriors were trying to get out on a break, Draymond intentionally lay on Sabonis. And Sabonis couldn't get up. Would it have been fair game for Sabonis to then punch him in the stomach? What do you want? He's laying on me. Of course not. Of course not. And Draymond, I also think his history matters and his histrionics afterwards, before he was ejected. All of the nonsense. This is an all-time great player who, much like another all-time great player who was critical to multiple championships, can't help himself. And we look at Dennis Rodman as, call it, an eccentric, somewhat unserious figure. Draymond Green is building a media empire and smarter than the media, smarter than other players, has the ability to turn it on and turn it off. I am here to tell you, Draymond Green is unserious. If you repeatedly get thrown out of critical playoff games because you can't control yourself, you're unserious. And the idea that he then goes, and I was waiting to see if we had a longer explanation because I was promised a podcast after every game, but I guess it's slow loading today. I'm not certain. It's not there.
The internet.
That it was, what do you want me to do? Anything other than that is the answer. Anything other than that would have been better than full force stomping on Sabonis' chest.
I don't think he's unserious. I think he's impulsive. And he, like you said, I agree with you. He can't control himself, but I don't think he's unserious.
Okay.
I think he's wrong a lot. He makes mistakes, but he's not.
Do you draw
unserious.
any distinction between how he acts and Rodman?
Well, the reason people look at Rodman, you can say it's right or wrong, but it's the coloring of the hair, the wearing the dress on Sports Illustrated, dressing up like a bride and getting married. That's why people say that stuff about Dennis Rodman. And Dennis Rodman, unfortunately, Detroit, before he started doing all that stuff, was suicidal. So there's a big difference in a lot of ways.
I'm just talking about how they
can
the inability to, when you are, if you have to get, and I apologize to use a car analogy, but if your car can go 100 miles an hour, but whenever you take it up there, about 1 in 10 times, the transmission blows, that is unreliable. That is something that means, okay, it actually isn't a super fast car because we can't consistently get there without disaster. We all agree that seemingly Draymond has to be like this, play like this to be effective. That's a huge problem.
They've won 4 championships with him. And with Rodman, they won 3 with the Bulls. So I would say they'd say it's worth, and that's what they do say. Look, we put up with it because it helps us.
Let me ask, did you buy his explanation at face value, considering that he was referencing Game 1 when Malik Monk grabbed his foot, and this was the ball's out, Malik Monk grabs his foot, he also goes in reverse there.
Yeah, and tries to step on it.
Gives him a little bit of extra.
He tries to go step on it.
So he references that, and then earlier in Game 2, again on the baseline, he gets called for a foul on this Sabonis little hip check there, that was then later considered incidental.
But it was obviously on purpose.
Obviously on purpose.
Here's the thing. This is why I found the explanation so ludicrous. If you want to say all of this stuff should be banished from the game, all of the little extra pulling on a guy's shorts, the little extra, blacks out for a rebound, throw a little extra elbow, those things, I'll listen to you. I won't listen to it from Dylan Brooks, from Patrick Beverley, from Draymond Green, from guys who make their living doing it. The idea that it was, you grab my ankle, it's so beyond the pale, I have to step on you, when we have seen Draymond, part of his effectiveness is figuring out what the referees will allow and getting away with it.
That's right.
And then it is to me, and this is, you laughed at us when we talked last week whether or not Draymond could fight. But so much of this is patented bully stuff, which is, it's fine when I do it, and when it's done to me, it's unspeakable. It is that Domantas Sabonis was doing to Draymond exactly what Draymond would do if the roles were reversed. Chippy game, 4th quarter, I'm on the ground, I want to slow you down, I'm going to hold on to you. And Draymond's been doing that to people his whole career. He doesn't get kicked in the groin. He doesn't get body slammed like he did to Beasley. He doesn't get stomped on his chest.
No, but there's a savviness to it. Like
until it's not.
He put his legs on Jaylen Brown and then got mad when Jaylen Brown pushed his legs off. And also he's like, don't do that. So he sees an opportunity almost. He's like, well, now I kind of got a free stomping. If you've grabbed my legs, I have an out. So that's the question I'll ask you, Brew. Do you think this is suspension worthy?
No. And I don't think he'll get suspended. I think the ejection was enough. Like you said, they were down 4 when he went out. So that, I mean, look, I don't know that they would have won with him. They were down, as I said, 4. But I think that ejection was enough. And you get, 3 points from flagrant fouls in the playoffs before you're suspended for a game? He's already got 2 now. So he's 1 point away. If they advance, he's got one flagrant
I think 4
one.
and you get. I think it's 4 and you get a suspension.
He's close to a suspension for a game.
So here's the thing. If they don't suspend him, they're purely bending the rules because it's the playoffs. Well, let me show you.
He was provoked. I'm not saying he was right.
Drew,
Don't get me wrong.
Let me show you what the NBA.
He wasn't right.
Suspension worthy. I can show you. Let's show Thanasis from 2 weeks ago. He got suspended for that.
That was a regular season game? There's a difference.
Well, then we agree. Then they're bending the rules for the playoffs.
They've been bending the rules every single playoff game. Have you seen how physical the games are?
Okay, I think...
Games are a lot more physical.
Agreed.
Which is great, but
agreed.
I'm just saying.
Let me show you another play. This was, okay, this is the Draymond play, obviously, but old friend Patrick Beverley. You see that, Brew? That got 3 games. He got 3 games. You know why? Because he's a repeat offender. That's why.
Hold on. Was he provoked? No.
They thought that DeAndre Ayton was standing over Austin Reeves.
That's different. And now, again,
he got
look,
3 games.
What Draymond did, I'm not trying to defend at all what he did. It was terrible. But he was provoked by a dirty play. And he went to a dirtier play.
I think, okay.
And the fact that they gave Sabonis a technical shows you that they knew. He was wrong.
Listen,
so they need to let Draymond play.
I think that I don't want to get into a semantics argument. I would consider what Sabonis did unsportsmanlike, not dirty. There was no risk of injury. There was nothing.
How do you know?
He had to get X-rayed.
What do
Draymond
you
got
mean?
X-rayed.
How do I know? I know because
He grabbed his ankle. I mean, there's a risk of injury in that.
Roll it.
There's a risk of injury in that.
Bro. If this was not a critical player for the team you want to win, would you be calling what Sabonis did?
Don't question. No, yes. Don't question my integrity on that.
I wasn't trying to question your integrity, my friend. I promise.
I'm just saying, yes.
You think that's a dirty
yes.
play? Okay. I don't think
it's not football. And again, I'm not defending Draymond, but he grabbed him to stop him from getting out of the play.
I'm just curious, after the ankle grab, and then we can move on, what would Draymond needed to have done for us all to agree it's suspendable? If he would have stomped on his face, we all agree, right?
Yeah.
If he would have stomped on the groin, we all agree, right? Ooh. So the chest is like the go zone of ejection but not suspension. If he would have leaned over and punched
I don't think he should be suspended.
We all agree. Suspension, so Draymond threaded
leaning him over and punching is different.
Okay.
Or 2 jumps. You get 1
You think he should be suspended?
No, 2 stomps.
No, I think I think he saw I think he's brilliant that he saw an opportunity where it's like, oh, free shot available.
He got thrown out of the game and they lost. That's not brilliant.
Fair point.
Okay. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.